Hello everybody, this is StockerFinance and I'm your host, David Scheuer, and today we're going to be talking about my favorite business and finance books that I've read, and let's just get right into it. Alright, so first off, we'll start with just a real good finance book here. It's a great personal finance book, The Millionaire Next Door. I gotta keep it in the light here. The Millionaire Next Door, it's by Thomas J. Stanley and William D. Danko. This book is basically about just living frugally and how there's lots of millionaires next door who don't seem like millionaires. Now, in my video on saving money, which you can go and check out, I'll drop a link in the below or somewhere around here, I talk about a little description of how there's two people and one person made significantly more money than the other person, but the person who made less actually was worth more than the other person because they saved so much money and didn't live as expensive. They didn't spend all their money, they lived in their means, and they ended up being worth a lot more, being able to retire, and it worked out much better for that person, even though they made significantly less money than the richer person. So the Millionaire Next Door basically talks about that in many different scenarios. It goes through different interviews with people, different studies, lots of numbers. If you like, statistics, if you like all that sort of thing, it's definitely for you. And it also has just great stories with her motivation about different entrepreneurs, different families, about people who are rich and poor, and just everything about money, basically. It's just about millionaires who live next door, millionaires that you wouldn't think are millionaires. So the next book here, and this one is Shoe Dog. This is more of a business book, and this is actually my favorite book of all time. Yeah, I will never get rid of this book. I honestly thought that this book was going to be kind of just like a mass-produced, book just to kind of make Phil Knight more money or something like that, or just promote Nike or something along the lines of that. But it's the complete opposite. I mean, this is a well-written, I guess, biography pretty much from Phil Knight, and it is just amazing. I mean, it talks about aspects of business that you don't get in any other book. It's not cliche. It's not all this. It talks about the writ and the grit, how his business, how Nike almost went under multiple times, how it almost failed. And it's really interesting, and what I liked about it is I relate to it a lot, because he's from Oregon, Portland specifically, and so am I, and he went to U of O, and I go there currently. So it definitely relates to me quite a bit, which I think I liked. And just a lot of it, just the personality traits are kind of similar, which I appreciate, so I can relate to the book a lot. But it was just so good, and I highly, if you're starting a business, or if you just want a really good read, pick this book up. It's so entertaining. It's emotional roller coaster at times. It is fantastic, and it's definitely one of my favorite books of all time, if not my favorite, and I'll be keeping that one around for good. Alright, so I've talked about this book before. This is The Little Book That Beats the Market. It's a little dusty right now. It's by Joel Greenblatt. I mentioned this in the last video, I mentioned this in the last video. And it is just a fantastic little book. It's a short little book. It's a guide to beating the market for all ages. Totally true. And if you're a teen just starting out and getting investing, which I know I mentioned in my getting started investing for teens video, this book is great. It's about 150 pages of just pure knowledge on how to become rich. That's all it is. Just read this book. Takes you one night to read. Super quick read. And it's fantastic. It just literally gives you the formula to getting rich. That's all it is. And it's amazing. All right, next book here. Let's see if I can pull it out from there. There we go. Tools of Titans by Tim Ferriss. So Tim Ferriss hosts a podcast where he interviews lots of people, and this basically is just a book of all those podcasts put together. It's a little summary of each podcast. Now, this book is not one that you have to read from start to finish. I have not read all the pages in this book, and that's because I think that you don't need to. There's no story to it. If you read, individual chapters all have their own story, because they're all about individual people. This one, for example, is about Chris Sacca. Let's see if we can flip to another random one here. There's Casey Neistat's in here. There's a lot of people I don't know, so I don't really care too much. There's generals, people from the military. There's people from pop culture. There's people who are business leaders and business titans, and performers, billionaires, whatever it may be. And they just talk about their life, how they do what they do, how they got their start. And you learn a lot, to be honest. I've learned a lot of little lessons here, a lot of different things from my morning routine, or just a lot of things here and there that have changed my life in smaller ways, but that make a significant impact for the longer term. So great book, go ahead and check this one out. It's a pretty hefty book. It's like $30. It's a little expensive too, but it is a great book. I mean, I love going through. I haven't even read the whole thing just because some of them I just haven't had as much of an urge for to read as other parts of the book, but definitely a great one. All right, the last one here is The Intelligent Investor. Now, I mentioned this in my last video, and this one is a difficult book to read. If you're just getting started out with investing or finance, don't read this book. If you are really, more experienced, if you've been investing for a while, if you've been, if you understand the terms and the technology, or not the technology, the terminology, go ahead and pick up this book, The Intelligent Investor. It's a must read. I don't even fully understand this book, to be quite honest. There's so much in it that can be interpreted in different ways, and it's amazing. This is the book that really kind of helped Warren get his start in investing. It's one that he said turned his career around. It was written by Benjamin Graham, who's kind of the grandfather of value investing, and that's what this book is. It's the definitive book on value investing. It says it right there, and it's great. I need to read it again. I don't even know if I've read the whole thing, to be honest. I think I've just read chunks of it because I have not been able to, and it's fantastic. Now, there's many other books that I am currently reading, and I didn't really want to do those ones because I haven't fully finished them, or I just don't think they're amazing. But I do think there's some honorable mentions. The Seventh Wave, or the Fifth Wave, I think is what it's called. I read it a couple years ago, and it's by the guy who founded AOL. And he's talking about there's another industrial revolution coming for the internet. And he's kind of predicting all this stuff. Now, I love the book. Only thing I don't like about it is sometimes he comes off a little arrogant. Whereas in the Phil Knight book, he really talks about all his downfalls, all his regrets, everything how much of a struggle it was, and how much he honestly could go back and change so much about what he did. I mean, he talks about all the negative things, which I like. Whereas, I forget his name. I'll throw it up somewhere on the screen here. The guy in the Fifth Wave, he basically just talks kind of about his successes and how it was kind of him that did everything. And it was still a great book, but I just don't think it was as good as some of these ones here. Another one is Financial Markets. It's by The Economist. It's just bear versus bull markets. Still reading it. Haven't read too much of it, but so far it's pretty good. And it's basically just like reading a Wikipedia page sometimes. It's just a lot of just information, but it is kind of entertaining. So those are some honorable mentions. I heard A Random Walk Down Wall Street is also good. However, I have not read that, so I'm not sure. I'll have to pick that one up. If you guys have any books that you've read that you think I should read, drop them in the comments below. I love reading these type of books, whether it's business or finance or anything in that sort of category. So yeah, my name is David Schroyer. This is StockerFinance. I'll see you guys in the next video.